December 14, 1943, outskirts of Viteps, Eastern Front. The cold hits him first. A sharp, cutting wind that slides under his collar and bites the skin of his neck. Snow drifts across the ruined field in thin, nervous lines. Through the scope of his worn Mosin agent, Senior Sergeant Mikhail Sidorov, sniper of the Soviet 158th Rifle Division, sees shapes trembling inside a German bunker. 3 silhouettes, small, shivering, barely moving. Their breath fogs the air the same way his does. A faint crack, the same tiny crack he heard earlier, echoes over the snow. He tightens his grip. A distant artillery shell lands somewhere behind him, a low rumble, then silence. Smoke crawls across the frozen earth. His heartbeat slows, then quickens, then slows again, the rhythm of a man forced to choose between duty and something deeper. His right eye aches from the cold of the scope. His gloved finger rests on the trigger, and doesn't move. Another crack, soft, almost like a small twig breaking. The echo from Chapter 1 Seed. The sound makes him blink. He inhales. The air tastes like metal and burnt cordite. He exhales a thin cloud that hangs in the air like a ghost. Through the scope, he sees more clearly now, the German figures aren't soldiers ready to fire. They're boys. 16? Maybe 17. One clutches a blanket. Another rubs his hands together, desperate for warmth. The third stares at the ceiling as if praying. Mikhail closes his eyes, just for a moment. The wind hits his face harder, almost punishing. He remembers an order from earlier that morning, an order that should have made this moment simple. It doesn't. His rifle lowers. Slowly. Deliberately. A silence falls over the trench around him. Even the artillery in the distance seems to pause. Why did he really lower the rifle? Was it mercy? Fear? Or something hidden, something tied to that order he received? He opens his eyes again. The crack repeats, faint, distant, mysterious. And then, a shadow moves behind the boys. What did he truly see in that split second? And why would Chapter 8 reveal it was never what he thought? If it were you lying in that snow, finger on the trigger, what would you have done? Long before the snow of Vitebsk, there was another kind of cold. We drift back, slow pan, from the scope, from the trembling German bunker, and the faint crack in the distance, to a small wooden house on the edge of a Russian village, winter 1927. A boy of 10 sits on the doorstep, boots too big, coat too thin, watching his breath rise in little clouds. The same thin white breath that will one day fog a sniper's scope. Inside, his mother hums a low song as she stirs cabbage soup in a metal pot. The smell of boiled cabbage and smoke fills the one-room house. His father sits at the table, hands like rough bark, tracing a finger along a faded scar on his arm. A scar from another war, World War I. The Great War. The one people swore would be the last. Outside, the wind makes the wooden walls creak, a sound like a slow, tired crack. Misha, his father calls, his voice deep, worn out. Come here. The boy steps inside. The warmth hits his face, then the smell of wet wool and smoke. On the table lies an old rifle, bolt open, empty. His father's eyes soften and harden at the same time. This, he says, is not a toy. This is the reason some men came back, and others didn't. The boy reaches out, fingers trembling as they touch the cold metal. It burns his skin in a strange way, like ice that has decided to remember fire. His father lifts the rifle, shows him how to hold it, how to steady his breath. In war, the old man whispers, your finger, your breath, they decide who lives and who doesn't. Outside, a distant crack echoes from the forest. A hunter's shot. The boy flinches. His father does not. Years pass in simple scenes. Slow montage. Mikhail working in the fields, hands numb from gripping the wooden handle of a plow. Mikhail watching his mother's shoulders shake silently one night after bad news from a neighbor. Someone taken away, no trial, no explanation. Mikhail listening to the radio in 1939, hearing the words, Germany, Poland, Soviet Union. Not understanding yet, but feeling the room grow colder. He dreams once of being a teacher. Chalk, not bullets. Books, not rifles. Standing in front of a class of children, not behind a scope. But the world around him is hardening, like the earth in early winter. In 1941, when Nazi Germany invades the Soviet Union, the sky itself seems to crack. Trains scream through the night. Men vanish from villages and do not return. The old rifle on the table becomes a memory, and then a path. When the draft notice comes, his mother's hands grip the paper so tight it wrinkles. His father just nods once, slowly. "You already learned how to hold a rifle," the old man says. "Now you'll learn what it costs." That night, as Mikhail lies awake, he hears again the forest crack of a distant shot in his memory, mixing with the train whistles far away. He wonders for the first time. When the moment comes and someone is in his sights, will his finger move, or freeze? And many years later, on that frozen day near Vitebsk, was the answer already decided, back there in that small wooden house? The memory of that old wooden house fades into white snow, wind, breath, and we drift forward again. But not yet to Vitebsk. Not yet to the trembling German boys. The war must harden him first. Slow aerial drift. Autumn 1941. The Soviet retreat. Endless columns of men and horses sinking into mud as panzer engines roar in the distance. The air carries a smell older than war itself, burnt wheat fields, oil, wet earth, and fear. Mikhail marches with the 158th Rifle Division, boots rubbing blisters into his heels. His breath rises in thin clouds. The same breath from Chapter 1, the same breath that fogged his scope. He hears a sound. A faint crack. Not a gunshot. A tree branch snapping under early frost. But it echoes through him, as if reminding him of something he will face one day. The first battle they see is not heroic. It's confused, chaotic, a fast rhythm of shouted orders, engines, distant shells, then slow silence when the shooting stops. A German aircraft dives overhead, its metal belly screaming, and the ground erupts. Dirt rains over them. A man beside Mikhail drops, hands on his stomach, eyes wide in disbelief. Mikhail freezes, just a second too long. Long enough to see the man's warm breath turn into a small white cloud before fading forever. That night, by a dying campfire, Mikhail cannot sleep. Smoke drifts around him, stinging his eyes. He watches the orange embers pulse like a heartbeat. The commander walks past, muttering, "We need snipers. Men with steady breath. Anyone with hunting experience." Mikhail remembers his father's scar, and the rifle on the table, and that wooden house creaking in the wind. He steps forward. Training is brutal. Hours lying in snow. Breath control until his lips turn blue. Learning to disappear into the earth. Listening for the faintest sounds, step, whisper, metal click, or that distant crack again. The instructors teach him. Silence kills more than bullets. Weeks pass. Mikhail's eye becomes sharp, but his heart remains unsettled. During one drill, he sights a silhouette target shaped like a man. He steadies his breath. Inhale. Exhale. A cloud of white fog. Then hesitation. A whisper of conscience he cannot name. The instructor slaps his shoulder. "Do not think. Thinking is death." But Mikhail cannot stop thinking. By late 1942, he becomes a recognized marksman. He kills to survive. He kills to protect his comrades. Yet each time, the same question echoes inside him. If my father had taught me books instead of rifles, would my finger move so easily? One night, while cleaning his rifle, he hears that sound again. That soft crack of something in the darkness. This time it feels like a warning, not a memory. He steps outside the tent. Snow falling. Wind slicing. Then a voice behind him. "Comrade Sidorov, tomorrow, a special assignment. Direct order." No hesitation. The tone is cold. Too cold. Cold like the moment he will face near Vitebsk. when he lowers his rifle instead of firing. Mikhail feels a shiver, not from the winter, but from something approaching. What kind of order could make a sniper doubt the meaning of pulling the trigger? Morning arrives like a slow knife, thin light cutting through the frozen mist. The camp is quiet except for the distant hum of artillery, rolling like a tired drumbeat across the front. Mikhail steps outside his tent, boots crunching in snow. His breath rises in a cloud, the same thin cloud that followed him from childhood, from Chapter 1, from the scope itself. And then, the sound. A faint, crisp crack. A branch? Ice breaking? Or destiny tapping on his shoulder? Slow pan across the camp, men warming their hands over small fires, metal pots rattling, the low groan of exhausted horses. A field kitchen stirs grey porridge. Smoke hangs so heavy it feels like a second sky. A political officer approaches, Lieutenant Kavarin. A rigid man. Uniform always perfect. Eyes always cold. He carries a clipboard like it's a weapon. Mikhail Sidorov, he says, his voice slicing the air. Walk with me. They move past tents, past stacked crates stamped with faded Soviet stars, past silhouettes of tired soldiers pulling bandages tighter around their hands. Their boots echo on frozen ground, thud, thud, thud. Each step feels heavier than the last. Kavarin stops behind a supply truck. He leans in, lowering his voice. There is a German bunker to the west. Scouts report unusual activity. He pauses. Your task is simple. Any movement, any figure, anyone who stands, crawls, or lifts their head. He raises one gloved finger. You shoot. Mikhail swallows. His breath forms a pale cloud that drifts between them. Anyone? He repeats. Anyone, Kavarin insists. Orders from above. No exceptions. No hesitation. These are not soldiers, they are remnants. Deserters. Cowards. Rats clinging to life. Mikhail hears only one word echoing in his mind: shoot. Shoot without thinking. Shoot without knowing. Shoot without asking who, or how old, or why. A shell falls far away, boom, slow fade, silence. Snowflakes fall through the smoke like drifting ashes. He tries to ask. And if they surrender? If they come out unarmed? Kavarin's jaw clenches. There will be no surrender today. Do you understand? The motherland needs discipline, not mercy. The word mercy hangs in the air like a forbidden object. Cold. Fragile. Dangerous. Mikhail looks at the ground. He sees a small twig, broken in half. The end splintered. He nudges it with his boot. Crack. The same echo again. He realizes something. This order isn't about the enemy. It's about control. About fear. About something he is not supposed to question. As Kavarin walks away, snow swirling behind him like dust, Mikhail feels a weight settling on his shoulders. A weight colder than winter. Later, as he prepares his rifle, each click of metal sounds louder than it should. The bolt slides forward, clack. The safety snaps, tick. His own heartbeat grows heavy, thud, thud. All sounds merging into one thing. That distant crack waiting for him near Viteps. He wonders. When he faces those silhouettes in the bunker. When the moment truly comes. Will he obey the order? Or will the cold whisper of his conscience speak louder? And what will be the price, if he dares to disobey? The sky dims early that day, as if the sun itself wants nothing to do with the Eastern Front. A gray blanket settles over the forest, and the wind sighs between the trees like an old man too tired to speak. Mikhail moves through the snow, each step slow, deliberate. His breath rises, thin, pale, trembling. The same breath, the same echo from Chapter 1, lingering like a ghost following him. He hears it again. A soft crack. This time it comes from a distant branch weighed down by frost, bending under the burden of winter. But to Mikhail, it feels like a warning. Over the shoulder camera cue. We see what he sees. The world narrowing into whites and grays, the outlines of destroyed farmhouses, the skeletons of trees reaching upward like frozen hands. His rifle rests against his shoulder, heavy, heavier than a man-made object should feel. Ahead lies the small rise where scouts reported the bunker, the same bunker from Chapter 1. At this distance, it looks like a dent in the earth, half buried by snowstorms, forgotten by command, and maybe forgotten by the war itself. He kneels behind a fallen log. The wood creaks, crack. The echo again. He steadies his breath. Through a gap between two splintered branches, he watches the bunker entrance. The scene is strangely quiet. No movement. No gunfire. Just wind brushing across broken metal. Then, a faint shadow inside. Small. Too small. Mikhail shifts position, letting the world slow around him. The cold seeps through his gloves into his bones. His lips sting. His fingers shake slightly, not from fear, but from understanding. Through the scope, slow zoom, cinematic, he sees them. The same silhouettes as Chapter 1. Thin shoulders. Hollow cheeks. Hands clutching one another for warmth. He hears artillery somewhere behind his lines. A low rumble. But he filters it out. A sniper learns to choose which sounds matter. Today, only one sound matters. That crack. The one that has followed him. From the forest. From the memories. From the order. From the moment he will face in Chapter 8. The boys in the bunker shiver again. One rubs his arms. Another tries to tuck his chin into his coat. They look nothing like the remnants, the vermin, the rats, that Kevrin had barked about. They look like sons. Like the students Mikhail once imagined teaching. Like children cursed to wear a uniform too early. His finger touches the trigger. But the memory of his father's voice returns. In war, son, breath decides everything. His breath fogs the scope. He wipes it away gently, slowly, almost lovingly. The rifle steadies. The decision looms. But something new happens. A movement behind the boys. A larger shape. A shadow stepping forward. Mikhail freezes. This is not a boy. For the first time, he wonders. Is the threat inside that bunker something he was never told about? And if so, why did the order demand no exceptions? The wind curls around the hill like a long sigh, carrying with it the scent of cold metal and damp earth. Snowflakes drift sideways, thin and sharp, each one tapping softly against Mikhail's cheek. His breath rises, pale, trembling, the same fragile cloud from Chapter 1, echoing through every moment. He does not blink. He cannot. The shadow inside the bunker moves again, slow, deliberate, heavier than the boys in front of it. Slow zoom into the darkness. The bunker entrance is a narrow oval cut into ice and soil, its ceiling sagging under frozen weight. The boys sit near the opening, soaking what little warmth their bodies can hold. Behind them, the shape stands half-turned, as though listening for something beyond the wind. Mikhail's gloved finger tightens around the cold trigger. A faint crack echoes, this time from the log beneath his knee. An omen. A heartbeat. A reminder. Over-the-shoulder perspective. We see through his eyes as the shape leans forward into a sliver of pale light. Not a monster. Not an officer shouting orders. Not even a hardened soldier. A man, thin, gaunt, wrapped in a torn greatcoat. German, yes. But older. His hair is gray at the temples. His posture tired. He rests one hand on the bunker wall as if steadying himself from dizziness. Then Mikhail sees something that makes his chest seize. The man's other hand rests gently on the shoulder of the youngest boy. Not a threat. A protector. The older man crouches down slowly. His movement is soft, controlled, like someone trying not to frighten a wounded animal. He pulls a small can, food, from his pocket and offers it to the boys. They shake their heads. He insists, pushing it toward them again, voice low and muffled by the bunker walls. Compassion. In a German bunker. In the middle of the deadliest front of World War II. Mikhail's breath fogs the scope. He wipes it. Again, slowly. The boys lean toward the older man. One grips his sleeve. Another buries his face in the coat fabric, shoulders trembling. The man wraps an arm around them, like a father. Mikhail's heartbeat softens. For a moment, the war disappears. All he sees is a tired adult trying to shield children from a world too cruel for them. But then, a sudden metallic click. Sharp. Clean. Close. Not from the bunker. From behind Mikhail. He freezes. His breath catches mid-cloud. His muscles lock. Slow pan left. Bootsteps crush the snow. A shadow stretches across the ground toward him. The familiar shape of a Soviet greatcoat. The cold outline of a pistol at the hip. Lieutenant Kavarin. The political officer. He stops behind the sniper, voice low as a serpent slithering through frost. "Why haven't you fired?" Mikhail doesn't turn. The wind howls. The boys huddle tighter. The older German lowers his head, unaware of the danger creeping behind the hill. Kavarin's leather glove tightens on the grip of his pistol. "You were given an order," he whispers. "No exceptions." Mikhail swallows hard. The cold tastes like iron on his tongue. Does Kavarin know what Mikhail sees? Or worse, does he know something Mikhail doesn't? The trigger grows heavier in Mikhail's finger. Too heavy. And the crack echoing inside his memory suddenly feels like a countdown. What happens if he refuses now, with a pistol aimed at his back? The air thickens around Mikhail, heavy as wet wool. Snow drifts in crooked spirals, blown sideways by a merciless wind. His breath rises, thin, trembling, the same breath that fogged the scope in Chapter 1. Behind him, Kavarin's presence feels like a blade pressed between his shoulders. "Fire!" the political officer whispers. Not loud. Not angry. Worse, calm. Mikhail keeps the scope to his eye. The bunker scene remains frozen in its own small world. The boys curled together. The older German shielding them. The wind brushing snow over their boots. None of them know a Soviet sniper, and a pistol, are pointed at them at the same time. The faint crack echoes again. This time, from the ice shifting beneath the bunker roof. A warning. A reminder. A thread tying the chapters together. Mikhail breathes out slowly. His cloud of breath floats upward, pale and uncertain. Shift to Kavarin's POV, slow pan. We see the back of Mikhail's head, the tension in his neck, the way his trigger finger hesitates. To Kavarin, hesitation is treason. His jaw tightens. His hand slides closer to the pistol. "Do you understand what happens to snipers who disobey?" he mutters. Mikhail doesn't answer. He watches the older German reach for something. A blanket, maybe. And wrap it around one of the boys. The movement is gentle. Too gentle for a battlefield of the Eastern Front. A memory from childhood flashes. His father's hand resting on his shoulder. A scar. A lesson. In war, breath decides everything. But now the breath catches in his throat. "Comrade Sidorov," Kavarin hisses. "You have 5 seconds." Mikhail feels the countdown. 5. 4. His heartbeat thuds against his ribs. Fast, then slow, then fast again, the rhythm of fear and conscience fighting each other. 3. He adjusts the rifle slightly. Not toward the children, but toward the shadow behind them. Maybe the older German is a threat. Maybe not. 2. The cold stings his eyes. Snow gathers on his coat. The world narrows into a tunnel through the scope. 1. A sound splits the air. Not from Mikhail. Not from Kavarin. A shot. From somewhere deeper in the forest. Mikhail jerks the scope upward, fast rhythm, searching for movement. Kavarin curses under his breath. "That wasn't us." The boys in the bunker freeze. The older German shoves them back, turning his own body into a shield. Another shot, closer. Then a scream. Not German. Soviet. Mikhail's pulse pounds in his ears. He lowers the scope just slightly, slow pan. Something moves through the tree line behind the bunker. Figures dark, fast, wrong. Not German infantry. Not Soviet troops. Something else entirely. Kavarin stiffens. This sector is supposed to be empty, he mutters. Mikhail realizes with a cold twist in his stomach. Whatever is approaching the bunker is the real reason for that strange order. He tightens his grip on the rifle. If the unknown enemy reaches those children first, what kind of choice will he be forced to make? The forest begins to move. Not with the slow sway of trees in the wind, but with the sharp, intentional motion of men sweeping through underbrush. Dark silhouettes bent low, rifles ready. Their coats aren't German gray, and they aren't Soviet brown either. They are black. Unmarked. Silent. Mikhail's breath rises, thin, clouded, the echo tying every chapter together. He steadies the rifle, but his hands tremble. Not from fear of the figures, but from the realization forming like frost on glass. Kavarin whispers behind him. Do not fire at them. Them. Not the Germans. Not the boys. Mikhail's eyes widen. You know who they are. Kavarin does not answer immediately. He swallows, an unusual gesture for a man who controls his emotions like a machine. Slow camera drift across Kavarin's face. He looks older suddenly. More tired. More human. They are detachment units, he mutters at last. Special Section 7. NKVD Oversight Division. Mikhail's stomach twists. He has heard whispers, rumors, of such units. Men who operated in shadows. Men who cleaned mistakes, quietly. Men who did not answer to the usual chain of command. But why are they here? Mikhail asks. His breath fogs the air with a tremor. Kavarin exhales slowly. You think this is about those boys? That officer? No. They're just debris caught in the wrong place. The figures move closer to the bunker, silent as ghosts, rifles raised. The older German man senses danger. He pushes the boys deeper inside, positioning himself between them and the door. He whispers something, too faint to hear over the wind. Mikhail shifts the rifle, heart pounding. Why were we ordered to kill them? He asks. Children? A wounded man? Kavarin's jaw tightens. I never said they were the target. A silence colder than the snow settles between them. Mikhail turns slowly, meeting the political officer's eyes. What does that mean? Kavarin responds with a whisper so soft it barely exists. You are the target, Sidorov. The faint crack echoes through the air again, the same echo from the beginning, but now it feels different. It feels like the snapping of trust. A classified file slips into Kavarin's gloved hand. He holds it out just enough for Mikhail to see the red stamp. Reported sympathies, Marksman Sidorov. Mikhail's throat closes. Images pass through his mind. Teaching the village kids to read. Sharing bread with prisoners during a muddy retreat. Hesitating when shooting a German medic months earlier. All recorded. All twisted. Kavarin steps closer, pistol lowered but ready. You were being tested today. Your hesitation proves their reports. Below them, the black-coated NKVD men reach the bunker. The older German man sees them. He steps forward with empty hands raised, pleading. One of the boys cries out. A shot is fired. But not by Mikhail. Not by the Germans. One of the NKVD agents shoots the older man through the chest. He collapses onto the snow, blood blooming like a dark flower. The boys scream. One tries to run. Another agent raises his rifle toward them. Mikhail snaps the scope up, breath shaking. The truth hits him like a blast of winter air. He wasn't ordered to kill the Germans. He was ordered to hide the NKVD's work. To keep the scene clean. To make it look like a Soviet operation from afar. He whispers to himself. They were going to kill them anyway. Kavarin leans in beside his ear. And now you must decide, comrade. Will you let them finish their duty, or will you commit treason? The pistol rises slowly behind his head. If he fires, he dies. If he doesn't fire, innocent children die. The wind howls, and the faint crack echoes again, like the snapping of fate. What choice can a man make when every option leads to death? The wind sharpens, slicing across the hill like a blade honed by the endless winter of the Eastern Front. Snow whirls in frantic spirals. The scene below grows darker as the NKVD agents close in around the bunker. Mikhail's breath rises, thin, fragile, the echo threading every chapter together. Kavrin's pistol presses lightly against the back of his coat. Not a threat. A promise. Choose, Sidorov, he murmurs. You have one breath left before your loyalty becomes questionable. Loyalty. The word tastes like iron on Mikhail's tongue. Slow, cinematic zoom into the bunker. The older German lies slumped against the wall, blood spreading across the snow. His breath forms weak clouds, then stops. His eyes remain open, looking upward, as if he still hopes the sky will show mercy. The three boys cling to each other. One sobs silently, shoulders shaking. Another stares blankly at the dying man, shock freezing his features. The smallest grips the older man's coat, refusing to let go. Two NKVD agents step toward them, rifles raised. Mikhail's heartbeat thunders, fast, slow, fast again. A rhythm of guilt, fear, conscience, survival. Internal POV blurred edges. His mind flashes to a memory. Himself as a child, sitting on the wooden floor of his home, listening to the winter wind crack against the walls. He remembered thinking the wind sounded lonely. Afraid. Now, decades later, it sounds like judgment. He whispers under his breath. I am not their executioner. Kavrin hears it. You are what the motherland needs you to be. The pistol nudges harder. Below, an NKVD agent grabs one of the boys by the arm. The child screams, a sharp, piercing sound swallowed quickly by wind. Another agent barks something in Russian. Get rid of them. Quickly. The words strike Mikhail like a blow. Over the shoulder view. His finger trembles on the trigger. Not from cold. From knowing the truth. Firing now would not save the boys. But refusing to fire would condemn himself. A sniper's dilemma. A man's dilemma. A human dilemma. The faint crack echoes once more, this time from eyes shifting beneath Mikhail's own knee. A reminder. Every chapter, every step, every hesitation, led to this moment. Suddenly. A flash of movement. One of the boys, the smallest, breaks free. He stumbles through the snow toward the bunker entrance, eyes wide with terror. The NKVD agent raises his rifle to strike him down. Mikhail inhales sharply. The breath quivers. Floats upward. Hangs in the air. That one breath. The breath his father told him defines life and death. Becomes the only thing separating action from inaction. Kavrin whispers coldly. You aim, or I shoot you now. Mikhail closes his eyes. Just for a heartbeat. His father's voice returns. In war, you decide the world you leave behind. When he opens his eyes, everything sharpens. Colors. Shapes. The trembling boy. The NKVD rifle rising. The injustice, raw and naked. His finger settles on the trigger with a strange calm. For the first time in the war, he knows exactly what he must do. But the shot he is about to fire is not the one Kavrin expects. And in that moment, one question rises above the storm. Can a single bullet rewrite a man's fate, or only end it? The world narrows into a tunnel of snow and breath. Mikhail's exhale floats upward, thin, trembling, the same echo stitched through every chapter. It hangs in front of his face like a thin curtain between life and death. Below, the NKVD agent raises his rifle toward the smallest boy. Behind Mikhail, Kavrin presses the cold barrel of his pistol deeper into Mikhail's coat. Last chance, the political officer whispers. His voice is almost tender. Almost. Slow close-up of Mikhail's eyes through the frost. No fear now. Only clarity. He shifts the scope 1 inch to the right. Not toward the child. Not toward the bunker. Not toward the German bodies. Toward the hill behind him, where a thin shadow darkens the snow beside Kavrin's left boot. A tiny detail. A detail only a sniper would notice. Kavrin's stance isn't steady. His weight is on the wrong foot. His pistol is angled just slightly away from the back of Mikhail's skull. A single moment of imbalance. A single breath of possibility. Fast rhythm. An NKVD agent shouts. The smallest boy cries. A gust of wind kicks snow like ash. Then, Mikhail fires. Not downward. Not forward. Backward. The rifle cracks like lightning splitting the sky. The recoil slams into his shoulder. Snow explodes behind him. Kavrin screams. A short, strangled sound. And collapses onto the frozen earth, pistol falling from his hand. Blood seeps across the ice in long, dark lines. Mikhail spins, grabbing the fallen pistol. He whirls toward the NKVD agents. Below, the men freeze in shock. They didn't expect resistance. Not from a Soviet sniper. Not from one of their own. For a heartbeat, the entire forest stops breathing. Slow zoom into Mikhail's face. His expression is not rage. Not panic. Something far heavier. Resolve. Leave the children, he shouts, voice cracking through the wind. Or the next shot is yours. The NKVD leader stares up the hill, eyes wide. He knows the precision of a trained marksman. He knows one Soviet sniper killed more Germans than entire platoons. He also knows Kavrin was their shield, their link to Moscow command. And now Kavrin lies on the snow, lifeless. The wind picks up. Snow swirls around Mikhail's boots. Far off, artillery rumbles, quiet, distant, indifferent. One NKVD soldier lifts his rifle. Hesitates. Lowers it. Another takes a step back. No orders. No commander. No certainty. Just fear of a man who can kill them from 300 meters away without blinking. The NKVD squad retreats, dragging the wounded leader with them. They disappear into the forest shadows like wolves chased off by fire. Mikhail keeps his rifle trained on the treeling. His breath, thin and pale, floats upward one more time. The children stare at him from the bunker entrance. Eyes wide. Terrified. Confused. They do not run. They do not speak. They simply stare at the man who saved them. And doomed himself. Because Mikhail knows. Everyone knows. Shooting a political officer is a death sentence. Not today. Not tomorrow. But soon. So what does a condemned man do? When he still has 3 children who need saving? And what part of a man breaks first? His courage? His hope? Or his heart? The forest absorbs the last echo of the gunshot. The wind lowers its voice. Snow settles slowly over Kavrin's still body, covering him grain by grain, as if the land itself wishes to bury the evidence. Mikhail's breath rises, thin, white, the same trembling echo carried from Chapter 1. This time, it feels heavier. It feels like a farewell. Slow pan downward. 3 German boys stare at him from the bunker entrance. Their eyes are wide, not with hatred, not even with fear. But with a fragile hope they barely dare to trust. Mikhail lowers his rifle. It's over, he says quietly. His voice is rough, frozen by wind and fate. You're safe, for now. The boys do not understand Russian. But they understand tone. They remain huddled but inch closer to the bunker's doorway, drawn by the impossible sight of a Soviet sniper who just saved their lives. Close up. The smallest boy clutches the sleeve of the older man lying dead beside him. The protective figure from earlier. The father who shielded them from the NKVD's bullets. Mikhail kneels beside the body. The German's eyes are half open, a thin frost forming on his lashes. Mikhail closes them gently with a gloved hand. A gesture of respect. A gesture forbidden by everything the war has taught him. Below the dead man's coat, he finds a small metal tag. A simple name, Friedrich Bauer. Beside it, folded paper, damp, trembling in the cold. Mikhail opens it. It is a note. In broken Russian. Written shakily, perhaps days earlier. Please, if anyone finds us, they are just children. We only wanted to go home. Mikhail's heart clenches. His breath forms a cloud, then another. The echo grows heavier. He tucks the note into his coat. Slow camera drift outward. The forest around them is no longer silent. Distant engines hum. Snow crunches under heavy boots. Voices carry through the trees, Russian voices. A patrol. Mikhail stiffens. If they find Kavrin's body. If they see the NKVD trail. If they see 3 German children beside a Soviet sniper. There is no explanation that ends with him alive. He stands quickly. Move! He whispers urgently, gesturing to the boys. He points toward the woods behind the bunker. The oldest boy hesitates, pointing toward Friedrich Bauer's body. Mikhail shakes his head softly. I'm sorry, he whispers. The boy understands. He nods once, tears freezing on his cheeks, and guides the younger two toward the trees. Voices grow louder behind the hill. Mikhail grabs his rifle and backs away, boots crunching softly on the snow. Footsteps approach. Flashlights sweep the darkness. A Soviet squad is minutes away. He follows the children, keeping himself between them and the sounds of his own comrades. Every step is a betrayal. Every breath is treason. Every heartbeat is a countdown. Close up on his eyes. There is no going back now. No report he can file. No lie he can tell. The motherland will hunt him. He knows what the next chapter must hold. Escape. Sacrifice. A final choice. The faint crack sounds again. A tree branch splitting under the weight of snow. The echo that has followed him since childhood. He looks at the terrified boys beside him. How far can a man go? To save the children of his enemy. When his own country wants him dead? And what part of his soul must he give up next, to keep them alive? The forest tightens around them like a dark fist. Snow falls heavier now, flakes spinning violently in the wind. Mikhail's breath rises, thin, trembling, the same fragile echo from Chapter 1, now stretched to its final beat. Behind them, Soviet voices grow clearer. Boots. Metal clattering. Orders bark through the trees. They are close. Beside him, the boys stumble through the drifts. The oldest keeps glancing back, terror in his young eyes. The smallest clings to Mikhail's coat like a drowning child clinging to driftwood. Quiet, Mikhail whispers, raising a hand. The forest responds with silence. Even the wind pauses, as if waiting to hear his last decision. Slow cinematic pan to his face. Frost hangs on his eyebrows. His eyes burn with exhaustion. His rifle is heavy, not with metal, but with guilt, duty, and love for 3 children who should never have been part of a war between giants. Ahead through the trees, Mikhail spots an old hunting cabin, half collapsed, its roof sagging. A place forgotten by maps, forgotten by soldiers. A place where a man could disappear, or die unseen. He urges the boys toward it. Inside, the air is stale. Dust and frost cling to the broken furniture. He lights no fire. Smoke would betray them. The boys huddle in a corner. One whispers something in German. Another holds Bauer's torn coat to his chest. Mikhail unshoulders his rifle and kneels. His breath fogs the air, thin cloud, trembling. The echo lives even now. He knows what must happen. If the Soviets find the children, they will assume he is a traitor. If they find him alone, they will still notice the tracks. The NKVD will return. There will be questions. No answer will save him. Inside his coat, the folded note from Friedrich Bauer presses against his heart like a burning coal. Please, they are only children. A sound outside. Crack. Branches snapping. Voices calling orders. Dogs barking. They are tracking him. Mikhail looks at the boys. Their faces shine in the dim light, fear, hope, innocents smashed by the war they never chose. He stands. His decision is already made. He lifts his rifle, not at them, but at the door. "I will lead them away," he says softly. "You stay. Do not move until the forest is quiet." The oldest shakes his head violently. He understands. He knows what Mikhail is choosing. But Mikhail smiles, a tired, gentle smile. The smile of a man who once dreamed of being a teacher. Of protecting children, not killing them. He steps outside. Snow engulfs him. He walks away from the cabin, leaving deep tracks. Tracks a patrol will inevitably follow. Overhead aerial shot. A lone figure in the snow. A man walking toward his own death. So that 3 enemy children may live. The Soviet patrol spots him. "There!" a soldier shouts. "Sniper!" Mikhail doesn't raise his weapon. He breathes. One last thin, trembling exhale. The final echo of the story that began the moment he lowered his rifle. Shots ring out. The forest absorbs them. Snow lifts in small white bursts. Mikhail falls onto his side, the world fading into blurred white. His final sight is not the patrol closing in, not the rifle slipping from his hand, but the tiny cabin behind the trees. Still, silent, hidden, holding the children he saved. Slow fade. Weeks later, a Soviet soldier finds a note tucked into Mikhail's coat. He cannot read German, but he hands it to a translator. The message spreads through the platoon like a rumor of something holy. They are only children. Historians today still argue about what happened in that forest near Vitebsk. Some say Mikhail deserted. Some say he was shot resisting arrest. But none of the official reports mention children. Or Bauer. Or the NKVD team that never returned. Only the forest remembers. And the silence after the last shot. So in the end, what defines a soldier? The orders he follows? Or the lives he refuses to take?